Yo! Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Not Another Formula One podcast. Oh my god, what the fuck happened? What the fuck happened, everybody? The Formula One Aramco Gran Premio de España 2025 was something of a fever dream. And I'm here to break it down for you the best I can. And I think we're going to start off with the Lance Stroll, pre-weekend shit, or during the weekend. So Lance Stroll crashed out, apparently. He withdrew from the Spanish Grand Prix after qualifying, with reports suggesting that the injury was exacerbated by a physical outburst in the garage. Now, this could be due to the fact that he was about 5/10 behind his teammate Fernando Alonso, getting knocked out in Q2, but that's his own fault. Now, of course, the team denied any altercation with the staff, but confirmed that Stroll's frustration and subsequent need for surgery for his injury, was needed. Now, of course, Aston Martin's staff and faculty are going to be very, very quiet as to what happened because they know who signs their paychecks. And we're very lucky that we got to see that incident back in Qatar a couple years ago where he hit his physical trainer. Because had we heard this story, about him crashing out in the garage after qualifying, probably wouldn't have been as surprising had that incident in Qatar not been exposed. The guy just makes himself more unlikable by the day, but I kind of feel bad for him. He's been pushing through this injury apparently for the last year and a half. Apparently the last 6 weeks since about the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix he's been dealing with this injury hurting him again. And it's tough, his own stupid decisions outside of Formula One have ruined his dreams of wanting to become a Formula One star. It's a shame, his dad has put all the money into this shit, and here he is just fucking it all away. But such is the story of Lance Stroll. He could not race in his home Grand Prix, the Canadian Grand Prix this upcoming weekend. Which brings me to Felipe Drugovich. I mentioned in an earlier episode, Felipe Drugovich, always the bridesmaid, never the bride. This guy's been Aston Martin's reserve driver, probably about 4 or 5 years now. What's he got to do to get a Formula One seat? This could be it. Now, of course, he has other obligations. A little something called Le Mans, or the World Endurance Championship, whatever the hell you want to call it. I think he drives for Cadillac. Who cares? So he's got a decision to make. If the seat's available, who knows, Lance may come back for his home Grand Prix, but Felipe Drugovich, I don't know if he'll ever get in this seat. We'll see. So let's jump into qualifying for the Spanish Grand Prix. And Nico Rosberg. What a legend. Of course, they would bring Nico Rosberg in to commentate for the Spanish Grand Prix. This guy, the year he won his only championship in 2016, it was at the Spanish Grand Prix where he collided with his own teammate, Lewis Hamilton, which allowed for Max Verstappen to secure his first ever Grand Prix win in his first ever Red Bull start. And Nico Rosberg has a bit of a curse around him. Anything he touches, especially with social media, seems to go to shit. So having him commentate on this Grand Prix weekend was hysterical, to say the least. His commentary, while very informative, he can tell what the drivers are doing better than anyone else. in my opinion. Um, he's hilariously hard on the drivers, or at least what they're doing. I mean, watching, oh, Yuki, dude, he did not have control of this car this weekend. Um, Man, watching him go through the third sector on that qualifying lap in Q1, just fucking straw. Oh my god, the understeer, the oversteer, just, and that was all he had. And you know how disappointing that must feel. I mean, I play the video games. I was just playing F1 2023 earlier. And I know how it feels when you're really fighting that wheel. Really, really swerving, bending them corners. Whoa, whoa, whoa. But yeah, P20 was the best Yuki could do. Carlos Sainz got knocked out in Q1. Not very impressive for his home Grand Prix. I'm sure he's incredibly disappointed because this does not do in very many favors for his some 10 consecutive points finishes in Spain at his home Grand Prix. That's quite a good stat for a man who's been a bit of a midfield journeyman in the past couple of years until he went to Ferrari. But speaking of Spaniards, Fernando Alonso, woo! He put it in P10. What a guy. Really pat on the back. I mean, he was celebrating that P10 before the session was even over. He knew that was the best he could do. And fair to him. I think he deserved this qualifying session finish that he got. And so did Pierre Gasly and Isaac Hadjar, scoring a surprising 8th and 9th consecutively. Later on that night, Paris Saint-Germain would go on to win the Champions League final against Inter Milan, 5-0. So I know France is fucking going wild right now. No, they really are. Have you seen the videos? Look into it if you haven't. But as we expected, the McLaren boys lock out the front row. Oscar Piastri takes pole with a 1:11.546, some 0.2 faster than Lando Norris in P2. Max and George record the exact same lap times with a 1:11.848. Max taking third place due to having set his lap first. And now for the race. Oh boy, this race. Run down to turn 1 goes smoothly as usual. Max overtakes Lando and gets P2. Nico Hülkenberg has a remarkable start, jumping some like 5 positions, I think, and gets into P10 on the first lap. Hülkenberg. And it goes on for a while, you know, Oscar, then Max, and then Lando, and Charles, and George, and all the boys going for the laps. Then DRS opens, and Lando gets past Max, of course, as per usual, and then the McLaren boys pit. And this is when we realize Max is going on a 3-stop strategy. Now, you know, in the video game, that shit never works. But I trusted that the Red Bull team were making a smart decision here. I mean, they know better strategy than me. So if they think they can get Max to eke out the tires that he's got with a 3-stop, have at it. Charles and George were having at it, fighting for 4th. And Max pits again, or makes a 2nd stop. Either way, he was leading this race for a little bit. The 3-stop was working. He was ahead for a while. The undercut on the McLarens, I mean, when he made his like 2nd or 3rd, I think he ended up coming out behind them, but he was making the shit work, and it was looking like he was really going to catch up to the McLaren, or at least Lando, on the last set, until Kimi Antonelli, this kid, poor luck, really shit luck for all the Mercedes customers and Mercedes himself, because all their engines seem to be dying. You would think that this late into the regulations, this probably wouldn't be an issue, but no. Kimi's engine just right on the back straight. It is what it is. So, of course, the safety car comes out, and everybody pits for softs, except for one man. And that man being Max Verstappen. He knew it was fucking stupid. He came on the radio and said, "What the fuck are these? Are these hard tires?" Now, those were the only tires he had left. So, it's what he had to put on, but hindsight's 2020. He was going to go to the end of the race on the tires that he had on anyway. I mean, I think it was old mediums, but he was prepared to go to the end on those tires. And had he just stayed out, he'd have been in first and gotten the track position. And Max just being so good on the restart, I think he could have held him off, or at least still finished third with like the 9 laps that were left after the safety car resumes. But just what a terrible decision to go on the hards. I mean, it was the only decision besides not pitting. But this was one of 2 terrible calls from Red Bull. And the next will be discussed in a moment. Because the race resumes, and Max gets the weeble and almost fucking bins it. Charles is on his ass. Finally, Charles is starting to get past him, obviously, because Max is probably 10 to 15 miles per hour slower. And Charles hits him. And gives him a little love tap, at least. And then while Max is so flustered about getting smacked by Charles, he kind of lets George in the door at turn 1. And Max goes off the racing. No, he goes off the track completely. He hits the escape road, as a couple of drivers did today. Oh, speaking of, dude, Liam Lawson. We'll get back to the Max thing in a moment, dude. Liam Lawson was a fucking agent of chaos today as well. Having not only one, but 2 shunts with Alex Albon. I don't think Williams, I don't think they have any more front wings left. Because Liam Lawson ate them all up. I get it. He was fighting. He was really fighting for that 10th place. But damn, son. And he didn't get a single penalty. Very clean, aggressive driving, which, I mean, we've seen before from Liam Lawson. He's very elbows out. Probably the next Kevin Magnussen, if we're being honest. But anyways, back to Max. Max is, going through the turns 3 and 4 ahead of George because he took the escape road. And GP, Max's race engineer, a very trusted guy, or at least in theory, trusted guy to make the right calls for Max Verstappen. A guy who, in theory, should know as much as Max Verstappen in terms of the racing rules, regulations, and whatnot. He tells Max to give the position back to George. But George never really had the position. In fact, it was confirmed by the FIA afterwards that there was never any going to be an investigation at all. Max was in the right. So, of course, Max is pissed, and he knows that he's in the right. So, upon instruction to let George by, he just rams right into the fucking side of George. A nice little little love tap with the tires. But this was a very poor decision from Max. Obviously, very childish. Very sorry. Max would then go on to get overtaken by George and end up in fifth anyways. But upon the end of the race, Max receives a 10-second penalty, dropping him all the way down to 10th place to only get 1 point for driver number 1, along with 3 penalty points on his super license, which brings his total to 11, just 1 point shy of an automatic race ban. I eagerly awaited the Max Verstappen Instagram post following the race, and he somewhat apologized, I guess. I'll read it, quote, "We had an exciting strategy and good race in Barcelona till the safety car came out. Our tire choice to the end and some moves after the safety car restart fueled my frustration, leading to a move that was not right and shouldn't have happened. I always give everything out there for the team and emotions can run high. You win some together, you lose some together. See you in Montreal." Max, I love you, buddy. But you gotta do better than that. It's disappointing. Could have had a lot of points here. But we're in the final laps. And Nico Hülkenberg, dude, hits a ridiculous move on Lewis Hamilton. It really wasn't as much of a great move as it was just a surprising move to see a Sauber burn a Ferrari like that. Now, Lewis had been struggling the whole back half of the race, but to see Nico Hülkenberg get into the top 10, I mean, after the Max penalty, he made it to 5th, but to finish 6th on track in a Sauber, I mean, there was a lot of luck. The safety car had to do with it, everyone putting on the fresher tires. And that had a lot to do with Fernando finishing 10th as well. Actually ended up being P9 because of the Max, but coming home with 2 points. Congratulations. The race finishes, by the way. Who knew? Oscar finished first, and Lando very close behind, with Charles and George and Max respectively. Well, I guess I might as well just give you the whole top 10 rundown, so we'll start from the top. Oscar Piastri, Lando Norris, Charles Leclerc, George Russell, Nico Hülkenberg, Lewis Hamilton, Isaac Hadjar. Isaac Hadjar being probably, at the beginning of the season, all my attention was on Kimi Antonelli. But now, Isaac Hadjar is my man. What a guy, dude. He's really, really bringing it home for RB right now. I'll go more into that later. Pierre Gasly in 8th. Fernando Alonso in 9th, getting 2 points at his home Grand Prix, his first 2 points of the season. Congratulations, and Max Verstappen in 10th to secure one and only point. Speaking of points, let's look at the team standings. McLaren really far out front with 362 points. To Ferrari in second with only 165. 197 point difference after 9 races. My God. And Mercedes is now in third. The highest they've ever been. Well, no. They were in second. My bad. Forget that. Mercedes in third with 159 points. And 15 points behind that in fourth is Red Bull Racing. Terrible weekend. Terrible last couple, especially this weekend. Terrible racing. Terrible job from Red Bull. But it's really kind of going downhill a bit. Going uphill, though, Williams very boldly in 5th place with 54 points. But as I was discussing with Isaac Hadjar earlier, the Racing Bulls are killing it right now. They're in 6th place with 28 points. And that's almost entirely to do with Isaac Hadjar's standout performances. Would Yuki have probably done the same had he not gone to Red Bull? I mean, Liam hasn't been the best, but had it been Yuki and Isaac in the same car, they'd probably be in 5th instead of Williams, because Liam just hasn't really had grip of that car. But anyways, 2 points behind them is the Haas with 26 points, them scoring pretty fair every other race, maybe either it be Ali or Esteban. But even more shockingly, after this race from Nico, Kick Sauber jumps all the way to 8th, tying with Aston Martin at 16 points. And Alpine, the wooden spoon, in 10th place. Boy, this race really shook up the order. Now, I'm going to get into my predictions from last week, from what I predicted for this race. And I started with Carlos Sainz would perform well and get points in his home Grand Prix. Hell no, that didn't happen. He didn't even make it out of Q1. I also said that the flexi wing regulation would shake the order up. Absolutely not, dude. McLaren are still on top. And third, I said Alonso would score points. Yes, he did. He did it. He did it, everybody. The unluckiest driver in the world scored points at his home Grand Prix. Next week, we're in Canada, and here are my 3 predictions for that race. 1. Only one McLaren will finish on the podium. And that is because, in my second prediction, one of the McLarens will have an error or a bad weekend or a mistake or something that'll cost them indefinitely. Maybe not indefinitely. I mean, it's a long season. But one of them's going to have a really bad race, probably not score, and this championship is going to get pretty blown open. Because if Oscar adds another 25 points on top of Lando, I mean, he's already got 50 points over Max right now. So if Oscar were to get 25 more points over Lando and Max, it could be over. But my third prediction is that there will be rain, and it will fuck things up. Because rain, it's Canada, usually is a wet race, and it's going to take a lot of skill to drive in the rain around this very high-speed circuit. This race weekend was the last we'll see of the Circuit de Catalunya, because next year we'll be starting racing the Spanish Grand Prix in Madrid. Starting in 2026, we will be racing in a new semi-urban circuit built around the IFEMA Exhibition Center. It is a 5.47 kilometer track that'll feature 20 corners and is designed to host over 110,000 fans per day, with plans to expand capacity to 140,000. This event aims to be the most sustainable and accessible on the Formula One calendar, with strong emphasis on public transport and renewable energy. I think we'll just have to wait and see about that, because there's really nothing sustainable about this sport. I mean, granted, the new engines and whatever next year, sustainability, and, green thumbs, blah, blah, blah. Very cool. I hate to see this track go. Well, no, I hate to see Barcelona go. It's been, was originally the host of Formula One testing, preseason testing, for many, many years. A very balanced track, usually has great racing. Got better when they took out that final chicane at the end of the the track in Sector 3. Definitely made it easier to play on the video game. But that's just me. But that is going to do it for now. And this episode of Not Another Formula One podcast, I want to give a big shout out to the Jeff Kinney man. No particular reason. Thank you for just writing all those good books that I read as a child. And thank you. Big shout out to you, listener. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe. All the things that make my channel grow. And your pee-pee grow. Bye-bye.